What's going on, my trainer club? A lot of you guys have popped open your game and seen that your CP values of your Pokemon have changed and may be wondering what in the world is going on. So we are going to check out why the CP values have changed and what are the best Pokemon based on the stats for the HP and defense. Welcome to the trainer club, guys. Here we go. So Niantic has announced, and this is just a little bit of an introduction, that we are going to be updating the Pokemon based on the defense and special defense stats in the game, because it seems like there have been a lot of imbalances as far as defense goes, and many of us have noticed this in comparison to the attack. So all of the attack values are not going to be changed. However, the defense and HP values are going to be adjusted to make Pokemon more equal. So if you want to read more about this, you can go to the Game Press website that I will have in the link. They did a great job explaining all this and the mechanics. So we are going to check out which Pokemon are meta relevant from this update in the Pokemon Go game so that we can have the best chance when we're fighting. So as it says here, because of the mechanics of the rebalance, the Pokemon that benefit the most from the rebalance are those with low base HP stats and balanced defense and special defense in the main game series. So the basic rebalance is going to be of the total damage output, which is a useful metric for determining the capability for a Pokemon to be a gym defender. And then the DPS, which is going to be how much damage per second your total Pokemon is going to do so that you will have a solid gym attacker. So let's go ahead and check this out here, guys. This is pretty exciting stuff because it really changes the dynamic of the game quite significantly. And some Pokemon that we used to not want to use are now going to be able to be used as attackers and things like that. So the number one biggest winners, according to Game Press, is going to be the Glass Cannon Pokemons, especially Gengar with Lick Now. He's going to gain about 25% more bulk and the ability to fight a little bit longer, which is going to make his attack that is so impressive be a little bit more useful, especially since he is the best ghost Pokemon in the game right now. And then the other thing we want to mention is Pinsir and Scizor gain about 15% in their TDO, total damage output. So they actually gain some bulk and some health. We're going to start checking this out into more detail so that you can see what is going on in specific. So Gengar right here, as you can see, the attack stays the same. He's ranked 19 as the attacker with a total attack of 261. And then what does change is his defense actually goes down a little bit, and his stamina increases 35 points, which then brings his max CP up to 2878 from 2619. So we get a decent amount of gain here, which gives us the potential to potentially get more of his specials off when we are fighting. And then we're going to check out the Scizor and the Pinsir, and if you've noticed, these guys have both went up quite significantly. About 100 CP max in their CP range. Their staminas have both increased, so they have a little bit more HP, which makes them a little bit more useful when we're going to be attacking with these guys. They don't die quite as fast. So the biggest losers, according to Game Press, is going to be the Brick Wall Pokemon, in specific Chansey and Blissey. So these guys both lose about a quarter of their bulk. So their HP goes down and will not be quite as big of deterrents, although they are still deterrents in gyms. And then what doesn't really happen is the Snorlax and Slacking. They don't really lose much of their bulk. And their CP stays right about the same, so it doesn't really hurt them nearly as much as the Blissey and Chansey, which is okay because I think a lot of us get sick of fighting those guys in the gym. So here, let's check these out. Blissey has an attack of 129, which doesn't change, but if you've noticed and you're looking, where did my max Blissey go that was 3219 if you have 100% Blissey, and now he's all the way down there at 2757. So his stamina went from about 510 to 496, and his defense went from 229 down to 169. So we lost a decent amount of defense there, which is really what is effective. The combination of the stamina and the defense is really what does justice for Blissey and Chansey because of how powerful they are in the gym system. And so if we check out the Snorlax here, he was at 3355, and he went down to 3,225. So where the defense went down, we went from 190 to 169, and then the stamina actually increased from 320 to 330. Stamina is a little bit more of an attack stat as opposed to a defense stat, so that is what happened. So it makes him a little bit more on the attack friendly. And then what always really gets me here about slacking, if he actually had a powerful attack, he's ranked number 5 as the attacker. So if he was able to get a solid move, he would be a pretty dominant Pokemon, even though he's just a straight normal type. So anything that would help him with a solid normal attack would really put him up there, and I just wanted to throw that in there for you guys to see. Now let's take a look at Deoxys. Deoxys, as the normal form, said to have a gain of about 34% in TDO. Actually makes it one of the best electric attackers in the game, but it's got ranked number 2 in attack, which is absolutely crazy, and brings its CP up quite significantly to a 3160 from what it was in the mid 2s. And then the other thing we want to check out is the Kyogre and the Groudon. They have gained about 2.7% total damage output each. But really what happens here is how powerful these guys are. And Groudon is the ground type attacker premium raid boss, but he may be challenged by Garchomp eventually, which is a pretty cool Pokemon. Actually may be coming out soon since he's a Gen 4 Pokemon. But what we want to do is check out this Kyogre here. I mean, these dudes are beastly, and they went up a little bit as far as CP goes. So their defense actually went down just a little bit, but they gained over 20 HP each because they have identical stats. So that's just incredible, man. These guys are absolutely beast attackers, and definitely guys that you want to have powered up, especially Kyogre for that water position and Groudon for that ground position. And then we're going to check out right here, Breloom is actually going to gain quite a bit of ground on Machamp here. Although Machamp is pretty much still the premium attacker, but you can see that Breloom, the new total damage output is only about 310 for Breloom compared to 434 for Machamp. But the total damage output change is quite significant. So if you check it out here and you want to see their stats, so actually the attack on the Breloom is better, but the stamina on the Machamp is what delivers the total damage output during the entire fight, which helps him stay as the number 1 fighting attacker just because of how much longer he can last. So Breloom has become a little bit less of a glass cannon, but Machamp overall, I would say, is still the safer bet to go with. And then Hariyama loses out a little bit here, lags behind the fighting types, which we already know that. So the starters here are actually gaining some momentum. In particular, the best ones are the fire ones, and that's been consistent throughout the game. The Charizard and the Blaziken have gained some significant ground. So if we check out here, Charizard went from 2686 to 2889. It seems like they're kind of going back towards their original CP before the rework, and then now this another rework is actually working them back up. So 2889, the Charizard is up until he gains 30 points on his stamina, and his defense remains about the same. So that is how he bumps up there. And then the Blaziken, which is pretty cool, gets up a little bit to that 2848 position. His stamina increases 30 points as well, while his defense stays the same. So the cool looking fire chicken is something you guys may want to consider using. And then Entei is said to be one of the losers. Though it retains the status as highest TDO fire type and gains a little bit of bulk, the Charizard and the Blaziken and Moltres, each with higher DPS, means Entei's position as a meta-relevant fire attacker is diminished. Because the Charizard enjoys a double resistance to bug and grass type, consider reaching for Charizard instead of Entei in these specific matchups. Entei still shines against ice types, where Charizard and Moltres only take neutral damage because of their flying. So check this out. We have the Moltres in comparison against the Entei. So the Moltres has an attack of 251, while the Entei has an attack of 235. And if you notice, the Entei is just a little bit more beefier as far as stamina goes. So that's really where the Entei shines. And Entei here is just about the same as the Moltres overall, but depending on the typing is where you're going to choose. Do you want a straight fire or do you want a fire flying, depending on what you are fighting against? And then the last couple we are getting into here, we're going to check out the Elite Dragon. So Salamence and Dragonite and the Rayquaza have all been moderately bumped up as far as attackers go, especially Salamence, because the bulk that he gets really helps him out. So if you check out here, Salamence went up 200 CP points. So his HP is really the thing to note here. It went up 26 points, which is great for this Salamence. He's such a beast-looking Pokemon, and I'm glad that he's got a little bit more relevance here as a dragon attacker. And the Dragonite, his HP went from 182 to 209. So Dragonite and Salamence are here to stay as elite attackers as the dragons, but the Rayquaza stays on the top as a ranked number 8 for the attack, as in comparison to 10 for the Salamence and the 18 for the Dragonite. But the Rayquaza is here. He has gained a little bit of HP, a little over 20 to 22 HP gain, and his defense stayed the same. So that is awesome. And then the other thing to note, which I actually really like playing with these Pokemon, is the Latios and Latias have gained. We're going to check out this Latios. He's went up around 200 CP points. His stamina has went from 160 to 190. So these dragon types really have big wins overall. And then other notabilities here is Alakazam and Espeon are strictly worse psychic types than Mewtwo, but they have been bumped up a little bit. And Mewtwo is now sitting in that second position, which we all know that he deserves as far as the total CP goes, which is really awesome. So I just wanted to point out that this Zapdos is doing a pretty good job here. He's bumped up in his stamina from 180 to 207 in comparison to this Raikou, which is at 207 as well. So they're on par, actually at the same, and the only thing that Raikou has beat out is the defense. The defense is 10 higher, but as far as I can see here, this Zapdos is going to be the electric attacker for everything except when electric is going to be weak when we are using flying Pokemon. So if flying is a counter that we cannot use, the Raikou is going to be the better option. But this CP rework really balanced out and put this Zapdos up in its place where everybody thinks that it could be. And then if we check out the Alakazam and the Espeon have gained some HP as well. The Alakazam is still a little bit of a glass cannon, especially in comparison to Mewtwo, but overall Alakazam and Espeon have gained some, so that is where we're sitting at right now with the CP rework. I hope you guys take this into consideration when powering up your Pokemon and now choosing the better options for the dragons and using those a little bit more. It hasn't really changed much, but overall what it did change is the HP and the defense for these Pokemon, making them a little bit more friendly for attacking and a little bit more balanced as far as defense goes for the gym brick walls. So thank you for tuning in, guys. I super appreciate you being a part of the Trainer Club.